Last year, I met a reverse centaur in the wild. And by the wild, I mean the endless styrofoam gray of a government office. I was working in a lowly data entry position for the summer, and I've been tasked with training a new hire. He had been emailing me for a few days, trying to coordinate a meeting, and I remember these details because the stomach-churning dread of a moment of clarity still lingers with me viscerally. I remember him sharing his screen with me, quickly tabbing away from ChatGPT, and I got a glimpse at everything he had asked for help with. Grocery lists, meal plans, even advice on what truck to buy. But it was the most recent entry which made me feel profoundly uneasy. Something along the lines of, "Write me a professional-looking email, ... I don't know what that request entailed beyond that, yet I could not escape the sudden horror of the notion that every email I had received from him might have not actually been from him at all. Not long after that, the government of Canada spawned its own chatbot. The whole experience epitomized for me just how much generative AI is worming its slimy tendrils into all of our lives. After that, I couldn't help but look at my colleague differently. Was he capable of doing the job he had been hired for, that I had just trained him for? Or was he just a proxy for generative AI to do the job instead? The term reverse centaur was coined by Cory Doctorow. In automation, a centaur is a person assisted by a machine. A reverse centaur, on the other hand, is, quote, a machine head on a human body, a person who is serving as a squishy meat appendage for an end-carrying machine, end quote. It got me thinking, was my colleague a centaur or a reverse centaur? At first glance, it seemed like generative AI was supporting him in his day-to-day life. But was he becoming increasingly reliant on AI to accomplish his day-to-day activities, and in turn, was he the one keeping the slop farm running? When it comes to government bureaucracy, people are often able to tell what is human-generated and what is AI. And not only that, and perhaps not shockingly, they prefer humans making the decisions for an understandable reason. Quote, we find that participants rate algorithm reviewers to have higher levels of work efficiency, but a lower level of ability to rate equity than bureaucrats. Now, while I would challenge the notion of AI's actual work efficiency, a concern for equity is very valid when it comes to an unfeeling, programmed machine making decisions. Generative AI plays Frankenstein's doctor. It stitches things together to form its creations. I do not want the government to be making decisions powered by a machine which only accounts for the mean of all human experience. The social programs lost, the research funding cut, the educational programs erased, the infrastructure abandoned. It would be disastrous, especially to those who are already the most vulnerable. And yet increasingly, I worry that we are choosing a feeling of efficiency over a willingness to get our hands dirty. Problems require nuance and attention, an ability to sit down in the moment with something unpleasant. There will be a cost to replacing human labor with the output of Gen AI. And what happens when we increasingly create a world where people are trained to outsource their thinking? This is not a new fear. American journalist and writer Nicholas Carr worried the very same about Google almost 2 decades ago, noting how the search engine was changing the way people thought and how he felt it was beginning to make him more stupid. He was certainly not the first to point out concerns with new technology. This has been happening for millennia. With the development of the printing press, the Italian humanist Bernino Squarifico worried the availability of books would lead to intellectual laziness. Even Socrates feared the development of writing. He worried that people would become forgetful and receive a quantity of knowledge without proper instruction. To some degree, all of these fears were justified. Yet, as Carr highlights, Squarifico and Socrates could not imagine all the wonders these technologies would also bring, just as Carr himself, in that moment, could not see into the future to what Google has now become. Maybe I should take Carr's hesitancy less seriously. It's possible that I am just continuing down the same path of narrow-mindedness that so many have trodden before me, but it's generative AI's ambition to shape our species that has me concerned. A change in the very way we see and value intelligence. Unlike the printing press, unlike the written word, AI is not designed as a tool to support human creation. Generative AI is designed to replace it. In such a world, as Carr puts it, there is little place for the fuzziness of contemplation. Ambiguity is not an opening for insight, but a bug to be fixed. The human brain is just an outdated computer that needs a faster processor and a bigger hard drive. While working at that data entry job with the government, one thing became increasingly clear. My skills, my thoughts, my personhood were largely unimportant to the task at hand. Honestly, it was a job that probably could have been automated well by an AI program. That could arguably be a good use for such a technology. Instead, there was a whole team of us propping up a simple payroll system. Bureaucracy creates an excellent template to slip AI into. We are all very much used to not asking questions and following protocol. That's what bureaucracy teaches us to do. There are those who have much to gain from this propped-up AI bubble. And behind the more diabolical figures such as Sam Altman and Peter Thiel, there was a whole plethora of young Silicon Valley entrepreneurs and investors scrambling to get ahead. And it would even be fair to say that they might not have the best understanding of economics and have a strange desire to capitalize friendship and preemptively commit insurance fraud. It's not a surprise that this gold rush is fueled by greed. It's certainly not a rush to improve the quality of human lives, the betterment of the world. It is a spectacle to draw people in, to prove its value, a desperate search to find a hook, to keep people invested so you can extract the profit. And when that day comes, shitification will follow, yet AI will be too ingrained into everything to avoid it. Yet this would almost be absurdly mundane, if not for the small-scale effects we will all feel in our day-to-day lives, regardless of if you use generative AI or not. Every day at that office job, I would respond to dozens of emails. I got good at it. And yet when composing every single email, Microsoft asked me if for some reason I wanted their newest generative AI to write the email for me, or summarize an email for me. Auto-replies, templates, autocorrect. Slowly but surely, more features were added. I wanted none of it. It offered to replace the entire point of me doing my job by creating a text which I would not participate in at all. It was boring. Dan Brooks puts his finger right on the problem, writing that, quote, generative AI sabotages the proof of work function by introducing a category of texts that take more effort to read than they did to write. I cannot think of a more scathing thing to say about a piece of writing. What does it mean when it takes more energy and effort to read something than to write it? It is something that, quite honestly, I don't want to read at all. Words are a tool for communication, and without that purpose behind them, they're just empty words. This notion of meaningless text is a horrifying premise, because what if it's not just a mundane office job? What if it's your relationships, your friends, your family, your partner? What if it's your entire social life? Communication is exhausting. It's difficult. It's a skill that must be practiced, that I'm trying to practice by doing this whole thing. So what happens when you outsource that activity? What happens when, rather than spending an hour crafting mediocre email, you make AI do it? Or you can't handle the stress of asking someone out, so you make an AI do it? Regardless of their answer, you have accomplished nothing internally. You have learned nothing. You have not grown or changed or understood anything new. Maybe the date goes great. You both had a decent time, good food, maybe even connected over some mutual interests. How are you going to ask them out again? How are you going to build that connection? Or are you just going to simply take the path of least resistance that worked the time before? The kicker to such a scenario is the person you've been talking to this whole time has been outsourcing all of their communication to a generative AI model as well. All the two of you have really accomplished is the illusion of human connection. How much authenticity can there truly be if the two of you were handheld by AI chaperones the whole time? How can a relationship built upon a homunculus of language last? What happens when the filed-down versions of you the AI presented aren't the real deal people that you truly are? Can you even work this out? Is that something you're even capable of doing anymore? Bypassing and skipping problems does not teach you how to solve them. It just delays them. If you thought that was a dystopian scenario, I have some bad news for you. It's already happening. Quote, almost half of Generation Z Americans, those born between 1997 and 2012, said they have used LLMs like ChatGPT for dating advice. If someone turns to an LLM every time they're unsure how to respond or feel emotionally invested, they might start outsourcing their intuition, emotional language, and sense of rational self. End quote. Of course, none of this is taking into account those attempting to form romantic relationships with these language models directly. Yep. When we are so used to texting as a medium, it's very easy to forget that large language models simply use the most likely combination of words. This is made worse when AI models consistently get things wrong, and when they intentionally code themselves socially as an apologetic woman in response to being called out. It's not about actually giving you accurate information. All the companies care about is calming down your annoyance before you stop using the product, by intentionally wielding gendered stereotypes to control their user base, but I digress. Just this semester, I was double-checking math for one of my assignments, and thanks to Chrome's new AI feature, it very unhelpfully kept shoving gobbledygook answers in my face. It made it glaringly obvious that however bad at math I am, generative AI has no concept of numbers. Fortunately, I recognized this, and despite my busyness, I recognized the numbers weren't adding up, and I hesitated just long enough to consider what I was being told. And what I was being told was wrong. Had I not done that, I would have utterly failed the assignment. My ability to pass this class in university, which I had paid an exuberant amount of money for, rested on my ability to know that AI was feeding me bullshit. Yet I grew up being told not to believe everything I read on the internet. And now the classmates of my little siblings are using chatbots to do their homework. Yet if they cannot pause for a second and question what they are being told, will they even be able to catch the mistakes AI is feeding them? AI damages our ability to trust information, but also to learn and do research. AI-generated articles are being pumped out intentionally to steal clicks and attention from human-created websites, which have already been forced to resort to advertisement just to keep running. If this keeps up, everything on the internet will be the composted, festering slop of whatever information was there before a million different AIs scraped, repurposed, and spat out the same degrading garbage again and again. AI is literally drowning the human population off the internet. And I fear it won't be long until I can simply say, AI is drowning the human population. Already, human input is not required. AI can scrape AI-generated content to produce even more malformed creations, corrupting the very idea of the thing AI was trying to mimic in the first place. What does the future look like in a world where meaning has been so diluted by regurgitation? Billions of websites will be utterly worthless to read through. Your favorite pieces of art will be replaced with soulless content cobbled together without an ounce of intention or purpose. At least until AI catches up and we can no longer distinguish it. It will be a space where AI gets more from harvesting your data than you do out of the whole thing. The reverse centaur can graze to its heart's content in the sheer accumulation of megabytes. Perhaps you may look forward to the day where all mediums are indecipherable and a custom television show can be created for you in an instant. But as a writer, as an artist, there is something deeply sad about removing human expression from storytelling in favor of sheer quantity. And what of personal relationships? Will you even speak to anyone anymore? Or will every interaction be organized by your personal AI? Every meeting a playdate handled for you? Will you even say anything anymore? Will you even have a voice? And what will be gained from all of this? Massive corporations are profiting, and their shareholders will probably be long dead before the repercussions could possibly trickle up to them. Or maybe it's not for us at all. If AI gets good enough, there will be no reason to sell us anything. We can simply be replaced. Humans have, after all, feared being supplanted by intelligent, self-governing robots for almost 200 years now. How many Terminators have there even been at this point? I think we're past it. But there may be something worse underneath. Generative AI is increasingly shaping our lives on this planet, our relationships, our hobbies, our ability to trust information. That, to me, much scarier. Especially since, once you can replace the labor of the working class, you don't really need the working class anymore, do you? Which is a solvable problem, since robots can be given guns too. I wish robots could handle all the menial labor, the stuff I don't want to do, so I could spend all my days relaxing and writing and creating and doing all the things that I love to do. To some degree, I think that's what's being sold to us. A life of leisure where we can pursue what matters to us most. But I don't think that's the path we're headed down. And even if it was, there would still be consequences into giving up our capacity for the little things. There will always be costs to letting AI replace our thinking and decision-making. If leisure and pleasure were all that mattered, then why not just throw ourselves in the utilitarian pleasure machine? I do not think I'm the only one that finds something deeply horrifying about that premise. If not, in the pursuit of efficiency and capital, are we now removing the very things that matter in the first place?